So you're considering buying new construction here in the state of Utah. Maybe you already live here, but perhaps you're looking to make the move here yourself. But what we're noticing is well over a fourth of the people that are buying homes here in the state of Utah are choosing new construction over existing. And that's something that I have a really deep understanding of and a whole lot of experience in both building and renovating homes. And I want to make sure that I deliver the best and most concise message in this video to help guide you in making that decision as to what you want to do and should do and know and understand in order to purchase a new construction home and making sure that you have the best outcome. Okay, let's begin. Let's give you a little introduction to what the new construction market looks like in the state of Utah. Throughout Utah, new construction is a relevant player in the real estate markets here because Utah has been the fastest growing state in the entire nation since 2010. And you can't accomplish that growth without building a lot of new homes. In fact, no other state in the country is building at a faster rate than is the state of Utah. We are building more homes per 1,000 residents than any other state in the nation. In fact, the number 2 state in the nation is Idaho, just directly to the north of Utah. So why is it that so much construction is happening here in the Intermountain West? It's because so many people are choosing to make this area their new home. So whether you're looking to live in St. George in the southwestern corner of the state of Utah, or if you're looking to live where the vast majority of Utahns live along the Wasatch Front in and around Salt Lake City, new construction is not only a viable but a really thriving product in terms of what your options are going to be when you're looking for a new home. Now, so we've talked about how many homes Utah's building. So many of these homes are being built in the fastest growing areas in the state. Right now, that is the northern part of Utah County in the cities of American Fork, Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, and Eagle Mountain. It's also happening in Salt Lake County in the cities of Harriman, as well as South Jordan, including the neighborhood where I live in Daybreak, and West Jordan just to the north. These are the fastest growing areas in Salt Lake County. And if we move out west of Salt Lake County and Tooele County, there's a lot of growth there as well. But up north towards Ogden in Syracuse, West Haven, West Point, these areas are growing incredibly fast as well. And that's not to leave out the Wasatch back in and around Park City and Heber. These cities and towns are growing because of new construction as well. New construction is happening absolutely everywhere. So depending on the areas that you're most drawn to, we can absolutely explore your options with respect to new construction. Now, when you walk into a model home and you're looking at new construction homes as an option, you're right there in front of one particular builder and a sales agent that is representing the builder and not you. And so from my perspective, it's best to have representation for you to make sure that you can contrast and compare all of the builders and all of your options to make sure that you're going with the product that you're looking for, but also to make sure that that builder performs on their end of the contract, but also to ensure that you have somebody watching your best interest throughout the entire project. New construction is an incredibly important part of this business. It's also an incredibly important part right here of my YouTube channel with respect to the videos that I'm going to be doing centered around new construction. I have a whole long playlist of videos that I'm producing in the next few months centered around new construction in order to prepare buyers into the spring and summer months when the vast majority of the people are choosing to purchase new homes from local home builders. All right, let's start off with this. What are the pros and cons of buying new construction versus an existing home? Well, it goes without saying that one of the biggest pros about buying new construction over an existing home is that you get something that's brand new and fresh. Nobody's ever lived there. And oftentimes, depending on how you're choosing to purchase that home, you may have played a vital role in making sure that you get to pick out the selections of the finishes in that home, or you might actually even have had a say in the structural design of the home as well. So regardless, that's one of the biggest pros about buying new construction. On the flip side, when you buy a new home, you do have other expenses that can come into play. When you purchase that new home and you move in, you're going to have additional expenses in the form of fencing that you may or may not be able to get to share that cost with your neighbors. You're also going to have landscaping costs. You're also going to have more than likely an unfinished basement. And so other things come into play and factor into, is this the right decision for you? And when we compare this to the existing home inventory, you might see that there's pros and cons to to both. One of the biggest negatives about buying an existing home versus a new construction home will be oftentimes you're going to want to remodel this home, and that can be very costly as well as very stressful. But with new construction, it can be a whole different type of stress. At least when you get to the finish line with new construction, you have a brand new home on your hands, especially if you've been given a product that met your expectations from the beginning. All right, so with all that said, now the first step begins. The first step in buying new construction is to first hone in on what community or what city you find yourself living in, because ultimately we don't really need to start looking at homes until you've been sold on the neighborhood or the community, or at least the city in which you want to live. So we first explore all of those options. We find and contrast and compare the pros and cons to all of the different areas that you're finding attractive. We hone in on a certain area, and once we find that community, we make sure that we do the research to make sure we know all of the home builders who are building in that particular area, and we get to talk to each and every one of them to make sure that we explore all of your options, but also so that you don't feel like you've missed out on something. I think this is really important, especially throughout the home buying process, to make sure that you don't feel like you've missed something. That's one of the greatest fears we have as a home buyer. So now once we've selected the community, we've selected the area where you want to live, we've got to compare the different offerings from these home builders. Many times they're going to have what they call QMIs, or quick move-ins. And with these quick move-in homes, you're likely going to be seeing the very best incentives. Oftentimes we're seeing incentives as high as 5% of the loan amount towards closing costs or rate buydowns. So even though interest rates might be 7%, you still might be able to purchase a home and finance it in the 5% range. And that can make a massive difference on your monthly mortgage payment. But there are other factors beyond just this. There's quick move-ins, there's building from the ground up where you might have more options and more flexibilities, but you might also be able to pick the very lot that you want to be on if that's the case. So I would really encourage people to look at all of these options, start with the quick move-ins, explore the costs associated with building from the ground up, and really determining what's best for you. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Scott Steele, and as a local real estate broker here in Utah, I help people make this move each and every day in buying new construction. And as we sit here in January, I know that you're likely watching this video because you're preparing to make that move, perhaps this spring or summer, or maybe it's later in the fall. Regardless of what the case may be, I'm trying to outline exactly what you need to know in order to make the best decision for you and to make sure that you're getting the answers to your specific questions. Now, what's the next step in terms of buying new construction? Well, the next thing we want to look into as we're looking at all of these different builders is contrast and compare their different incentives. Once we've done that and we've selected the actual home builder, we want to set and meet realistic expectations throughout the contract. In other words, we really want to know what is the expected timeline for the completion of the home so that we really know what to expect throughout the entire process. Sometimes these homes are completed in just a matter of a few months. Sometimes it's 6 months or 9 months or even a year or beyond, just depending on the magnitude of the construction and the style and type of home. Okay, so I really want to talk about the most common challenges that people just like you are experiencing as they buy new construction. One of the biggest challenges that they're experiencing is that the builder is simply not performing, or perhaps they're not communicating well with you as the home buyer, and you feel this sense of stress, this sense of anxiety. You're driving by the house if you actually live here, and you're looking at the product and you're not seeing the progress that you were promised, and this is where we can really step in and help. We can be the boots on the ground to make sure that the builder is performing, but not only that, the other big common problem that people are experiencing as they build a new home is they see the problems throughout the process of the construction that they don't necessarily have expertise in. Sometimes they're seeing things that they don't even understand, or they see things that they don't see as a problem, but they actually are. So that's why you need experienced eyes watching the construction process from beginning to end to make sure that you end up with the finished product that you deserve and that you're expecting. And another really common challenge is that communication barrier between the builder and the client/the homeowner. And so if you're working with a sales agent that doesn't know a lot about the construction of the home, or perhaps it's the actual superintendent that's running the show and hiring and managing the subcontractors, putting out fires each and every day as the home is built. Regardless, the communication style between a superintendent and a sales agent are going to be starkly different. And that's typically how things play out when buying new construction. Really critically important to have that communication bridge between the builder builder and between the person actually buying the home, because that makes it for a much smoother process. Another common challenge when buying new construction is how to manage this timeline. This timeline may or may not have a moving target. It may be expected that the home is going to be completed in the middle of May, and it actually doesn't happen until the middle of June. This is fairly normal. We see this quite frequently, and being able to transition from one house to another when you don't necessarily know when that home is going to be completed can be the source of a lot of anxiety and stress, and that's where we want to make sure that we hone this process in so that by the time we're about 6 weeks out from the completion of the build, we truly understand and know exactly where that home is going to land in terms of timeline to make sure that we can coordinate for our clients other means or other areas or places that they can stay in the interim to make sure that they're finding a smoother process, because honestly, there's nothing fun about moving. And I think the only fun part about it is getting into that brand new fresh home. That of course is fun, but the process leading up to that can be very stressful. And I think it's really important to understand that timeline specifically and making sure that you get to the finish line with exactly what you expected so that you can manage the other areas of your life as you get there. Okay, so now as the end of the construction process draws nearer to the end, it's time for the walkthrough. And typically I like to do a walkthrough with clients in person as we go through the home leading up to the completion of that home to make sure that things are taken care of and to explain the different things that we had to resolve to get to that point, to make sure that they feel safe and they understand that everything that's happened up to this point is actually in their best interest, to make sure that they're getting that home that they really wanted. But also we want to go through and do that walkthrough to not only understand what needs to be taken care of prior to closing, what things we can put onto what they call a punch list to make sure that we have a list of items that need to be resolved prior to closing. We want to do that, but of course the other part of it is to really familiarize yourself with your actual home. We want you to understand how to operate the systems in the home, whether that be the HVAC system or perhaps the water heater. If it's a tankless water heater, especially understanding what the maintenance requirements of a tankless water heater might be, understanding how to use your appliances and how to sign up for those extended warranties from those manufacturers. All of those things are important and crucial in understanding how your home works, but we want to do this and go through each and every area of the home to make sure that you understand what everything is, why it's there, what you need to know about it, what you need to expect in the future, and heaven forbid if something were to go wrong, where do you shut off the water? Where do you do this? Where do you do that? So all of those things are important in a final walkthrough leading up to the completion of your new home. And then we finally get to the closing table. And this is the part that can actually be stressful, but it's honestly, for most people, it's quite relieving and it's really fun because on the backside of that, you get to move into your brand new home. This is a really fun process. One of my favorite things about getting people into a new home is seeing their faces when they get to walk into that home that they really were excited about, knowing that nobody's ever lived there. This is theirs from the beginning and they get to turn this house into their home. And I really do believe that new construction is one of the least understood aspects of purchasing a new home. And I think it's absolutely critical to make sure that you understand what to expect, how to navigate the process so that you get to that finish line with exactly what you expected. Now, ultimately, it really boils down to what's best for you and your family. I know firsthand from experiencing this with countless clients, understanding the process of helping them go through the process of buying a new construction home. I understand those challenges, those stresses, those anxieties that really kick in. And so my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice with respect to new construction. It's something that we know inside and out, and we can really dial you in with not only the local home builders, but the regional and national home builders that are building here in the state of Utah as well. And so if that's you and you're looking for new construction, reach out to us. We can really set you up with our guide and make sure that we walk you through the process. And you can find our contact information down in the description below, or you can book a call with me and have a consultation in that link that you'll find in the pinned comment on this and every video. And if you want to know more about life in Utah as well as new construction, check out these playlists here. And until the next time, thanks.